Let's recording another one. The value of automated external defibrillators. What does that mean? AEDs. The Mayo Clinic explains that an automated external defibrillator, AED, is a portable device to treat a person whose heart has suddenly stopped working, a condition called sudden cardiac arrest. A sudden cardiac arrest usually happens when a problem in the heart's electrical activity causes a dangerously irregular heartbeat, which prevents the heart from pumping as it should and causes the heart to stop. An AED delivers an electrical shock, if needed, to start the heart. The American Heart Association reports that immediate cardiopulmonary resuscitation, called CPR, and AED use can double or triple a person's chance of survival, while CPR can keep blood flowing to the heart and brain for a time. Often only defibrillation can restore the heartbeat. The American Heart Association states that AEDs are an important part of responding to a cardiac arrest. A person's chance of surviving drops by 7% to 10% every minute a normal heartbeat isn't restored. AED in public places and homes. You can find AEDs in many public places, such as government buildings, recreation centers, schools, airports, and other community locations. Since 2010, Heart and Stroke, together with funding partners, has placed more than 15,000 AEDs in communities across Canada. The intended user of the AED is the public. While they are easy to use, the American Heart Association recommends training to increase the heart users' confidence. The public can purchase small and lightweight AEDs for home use. Having an AED is especially useful for someone at high risk of sudden cardiac arrest. However, the Mayo Clinic notes that healthcare providers will likely recommend an implantable cardioverter defibrillator, called ICD, a device that can deliver a shock when needed. Other considerations include the needing someone to be living with you to use the AED. The cost, they are expensive, and private insurance usually doesn't cover them. The AED is quite expensive. The cost is higher. And if you have do not resuscitate order. Resuscitate order. How to pronounce these words? Resuscitate. And let's check these English words. I don't know these ones. What does that mean? So resuscitate. Got it. What is this one? Resuscitate is a 复数 recover, means your heart stop pounding, jump. You need this one to help you to resuscitate the heart to jump. The value of access AED, quick response. With 80% of sudden cardiac arrests, occurring outside hospitals. Having access to an AED is crucial. Using an AED within the first minutes of collapse, survival chances are nearly 90%, but less than 12% of victims receive early AED assistance. Research has found that the median time from 911 call to SANS arrival for a EMS responding to an out-of-the-hospital cardiac arrest is more than 6 minutes in North America, even in dense urban settings. Given these limitations, use of the AEDs as soon as possible by people at the scene is a critical component of the chain of the survival and a key strategy to optimize outcomes after an out-of-the-hospital sudden cardiac arrest. Cost-effective, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports evidence suggesting that implementing PAD, public access defibrillation programs, is cost-effective. A review in 2010 found that AEDs are most cost-effective when placed in areas with a high frequency of cardiac arrest. Another study found that AEDs, in addition to CPR, were more cost-effective than CPR alone. The CDC rated the evidence of impact for health as supported. Being accessed where you live, the value of the condo and apartment building having an AED on site is that those locations are home to up to hundreds of residents, increasing the chances that someone may experience a sudden cardiac arrest. Having an AED on site can provide peace of mind that residents and building staff can respond. Is a PAD working? Is a public access defibrillation working? A 2024 Canadian observation study looked at metrics of AED accessibility and bystander AED use among the 9,333 EMS treated out-of-hospital cardiac arrests in the 4 most populous regions of British Columbia over 5 years. The most common AED locations types were stores, public community centers, and office buildings. The finding published in the Canadian Journal of the Emergency Medicine includes, despite having 879 registered public access AEDs identified across the study region, the proportion of the out-of-the-hospital cardiac arrests involving bystander AED use ranged from only 4.3 to 6.3%, and a abysmal rate. Research is finding that only a small number of people who have a sudden cardiac arrest have public access to an AED. Buildings with public AEDs are open an average for less than half of an hour in a week, with only 10% of the AEDs being accessible all hours. The authors conclude that to increase benefit, place AEDs in locations accessible 24/7 and use data-based strategies to identify optimal locations. In an accompanying editorial entitled Public Access Defibrillation is a Failed Strategy, Dr. Stephen Brooks, a clinician, scientist, and emergency physicians in the Department of Emergency Medicine at Queen's University, is critical of relying on public access defibrillation as the only strategy for early defibrillation. Since the majority of students' cardiac arrest occur at home, Brooks comments that while having access to an AED in the home where they are needed would be a solution. Currently, the AED technology is not gathered to home or personal ownership due to a high cost, portably and intimidating medicalized design. He cited other issues with the AEDs in public. Okay, so article is a little bit long. We need to continue to read it. And they says not that efficient is a failed strategy. That made me sad. Dr. Stephen Brooks, a clinician, scientist, and emergency physician in the Department of Emergency Medicine at Queen's University, is critical of relying on public access defibrillation as the only strategy for early defibrillation, since the majority of sudden cardiac arrest occurred at home. Brooks comments that while having access to an AED in a home where they are needed would be a solution, currently the AED technology is not geared to home or personal ownership due to the high cost, portability, and immediating medicalized design. He cites other issues with the AEDs in public space, including access issues. These include inadequate signage, poor visibility of AED installation, locked cabinets, and using AEDs in restricted building area, example like security office. Issue with the public, there is a lack of the awarenesses of AED, lack of the confidence and knowledge to use AED, and the fear of the legal ramifications. Heart and Stroke report that legislation in provinces across Canada protects individuals who use AED from liability. Issues with maintaining AED public places are neglecting AED maintenance, resulting in expired pads or a battery. Oh, that's sad. That is very sad. Okay, so today I read two things. And okay, the value of the automated external defibrillators. And another one is survey for the perspectives on growing older in Canada, the 2024 NIA Aging in Canada. Thank you very much, and hopefully invite more people to come and read. If you invite people, read is at evening 9 to 10 o'clock Vancouver time.